Hey family, it's your girl Hilda's Mood. The cool kids call me Mango. And I'm here to start something new called the Genuine Expression Project. It's going to be unformatted, candid. I'm just going to be talking freely. So let's just get into it. So I just saw a post on Twitter that was honoring the legacy of NicoleMilfie. And yesterday we learned the news of Michaela DePrince passing as well. And so I'm just kind of sitting here like talking to myself about it, where it's just like, wow, I did not know Michaela DePrince, not by name at least, before yesterday. And, just learning about her story and who she was and how she became Michaela DePrince, the world-renowned ballerina. I just been really in my head about how legacy and impact go together, and how unfortunate it is that so many, specifically Black women, our work and our legacy is celebrated so much posthumously. So I really was just sitting here talking to myself about NicoleMilfie, because NicoleMilfie is always like an interesting topic in my personal life, just because it's not somebody that I get to talk about freely and in entirety, because I didn't realize how niche. That's the thing about the internet. The internet, one thing for certain, because there are millions and millions of people on any given app at any given time, we don't really realize how niche we are on any social media at any given time, because we're millions of people out of billions of people. So trying to conceptualize that is pretty hard, because you've never seen a million people in your life. I don't even know how you would ever see a million people in your life at once. That is a very rare occurrence, to try to conceptualize what a million people looks like, and then try to conceptualize that in the grand scheme of billions of people. After a while, these just become cloudy concepts. It's not really real, because I don't have anything tangible to compare it to in my real life. You've never really seen a million things, individual pieces of a thing, to be able to conceptualize what that looks like. But yeah, so us online that have access to social media, we're already a small group of people. And then, we have our little niche communities and our little niche things within the social media space. And so someone like NicoleMilfie, it wasn't just Black Twitter, it wasn't just Black girls on Twitter, it was like a very specific subgroup of Black girls and Black people in general, on Twitter. I think a lot of us were queer, not all of us, but I think a lot of us were queer, that follow and love NicoleMilfie. I think a lot of us, were pop culture girlies, fashion, beauty, things like that, culture in general. But then we're like the antithesis to the Black excellence, blavity blacks, I like to call them. Like, you were like the opposite side of that. So I think a lot of us must have been Black girls and Black people that were considered fast, considered hoes, considered just, I don't know what to call it, simply because right now in pop culture and media, like it's super popular, super mainstream to see us wearing, you know, lingerie, and it's sex worker clothes. You know what I mean? Like everyone portrays themselves kind of sex positive. I mean, right now we're transitioning into more like trad and modesty and all that other stuff. But in pop culture, the way people dress, especially what they call like the alternative black girl, it's so popular now. Back then, I don't think we were considered cool. I think a lot of us were writers. A lot of us were writers and ranters and journalists and commentary people, which is even, I think, us interacting the way that we did online back then is probably how a lot of people's careers are standing now, because we didn't even have threads on Twitter by this point. Like, I think people like NicoleMilfie even gave space for then like someone like Zola to come and tell Zola's story, which then changes how we interact on socials altogether. Because yeah, we didn't have threads on Twitter, which now is Instagram's competitor, right? Like they call it Threads, which I think is just so interesting. Like coming from Tumblr, where like Tumblr was very thread centric, like the comment section, and it was like always a continuous post and we're having dialogue on a thread, infinite scroll type of thing. Seeing all these social media apps like come around decades later, it's very interesting. But really, it's like the black girls did that. Again, girls like NicoleMilfie, Zola, BriMalandro, even like BriMalandro really coined the Yeehaw agenda, and I'm grateful that I got to see that all together, because even how we talk about like black cowboys and black cowboy fashion and black cowboy culture in America, like BriMalandro was at the forefront of stuff like that. I don't know if the Yeehaw agenda pages are still up, but you can see that everywhere. Sageyblanco is another person. There's just a lot of girls who were around at the time and really impacted how we engage with media ever since. I left this out, and it has to be addressed. Another account that was really iconic and pivotal in this time was an account called Howtobeafuckinglady, ran by Evil Rashida. Yeah, that cannot be left out. It cannot be understated, or it cannot be overstated, sorry. It cannot be overstated how impactful an account like Howtobeafuckinglady and Evil Rashida were in tandem with the NicoleMilfies. So I just wanted to put that in there because we can't leave her out. Rashida on the internet, and that time especially, the girls was not even, y'all had never seen archival pages the way that Howtobeafuckinglady had done it. Like now it's super mainstream. Like there are archival pages of all different types of things, and you know, you got the vixens, you got African history, you got African American history, you got all these different archives, you know, the fashion archives and whatever. Howtobeafuckinglady and Evil Rashida was definitely at the forefront of all of that, and she just can't be left out, period. So I had to put that in there. And it's like, that's such a small example, I think. It's not small because it does inform all the things, like again, Instagram naming their competitor to Twitter, Threads, and you know, now everything is cowboy centric in pop culture right now. So it's not that the impact is small, but that initial drop that then created all these ripples, it's like a smaller example. But then I just think about somebody who I think about a lot, because I'm a fan, and again, because I learned and started to engage with her work after her death, um, is someone like Aaliyah, where it's like Aaliyah just impacted the world and continues to impact the world in so many ways that we can finger trace. Whether it's makeup trends or fashion trends, hair trends, like so much of the way that we express ourselves in beauty directly comes from Aaliyah and her camp. And the fact that only other black women and other fans of hers are going to be the ones to like keep that narrative and keep that alive is so wild to me, because we can sit here and applaud and talk about her abusers in ways that solidify and cement their legacy and their standing, where it's like, oh, some of these people are greatest songwriters or greatest producers or whoever the fuck of our time, and we can give them that. But then someone like Aaliyah, who we are still consuming, who we are still taking from every single day, who so many men in the industry still use her imagery to whatever they want to do with her imagery, in really weird ways. It's like she doesn't get the forefront. Like she's not even really a person. It's like an idea of a person, which sucks because she never really got into adulthood. She was 22 when they killed her. So it's like, dang, girl, like, we really do not allow black women to be exalted in their impact. Only after they are dead do we allow them the space and the recognition. And even with that, it's like there's not respect. There's not respect for our lives and who we are and our personhood. And I just think that is so telling of the way that the world works, where it's like y'all get to consume black women and our work in such a specific way, without considering or regarding or respecting our lives, our personhoods, our anything. And it's true across the board. Like, I'm talking about media and celebrity culture and things like that, but even if we take all of that away and we're talking about black women in community, black women in our homes and things like that, it's like black mothers are always in pop culture written off as the most irresponsible, the most negligent, the most detached from their children. The reason why the black community is the way that it is because black mothers are not doing what they need to do. However, then on the same accord, black women and black mothers are at the forefront of childcare for everyone. Like, the average person taking care of children is a black woman. I've worked in childcare majority of my life, um, which, I mean, I don't know. I think most of us have. I think if you're not of a certain class, of a certain privilege, I don't know how you would have evaded childcare. Whether you got paid for it or not, that's different. But you being responsible for the children around you as a Black woman, I don't. Y'all could let me know if you evaded it and how. Especially if you grew up impoverished. Because again, if you're classed, if you came from the suburbs, if you were born in the suburbs and of different classes and things like that, be mindful and be aware of your positionality in community and all the things, because you are removed. You are not the average. You are exceptional. You are an exception. Because majority of us are not suburbanites. The majority of us are not classed. Majority of us are not people that have opportunities for upward mobility and all of the things. And so, yeah, I would argue that majority of Black women and girls in the world have been allocated to childcare of children that are not theirs, children that are not even of their own family. And so, again, like the way that we are able to be consumed, our work is able to be consumed, our impact is able to be consumed, but our lives are never respected, are never nurtured, are never cared for outside of us doing that for each other. It's just a huge teller of the state of the world and the state of society. And I think right now, where a lot of Black women are being able to have a level of agency and independence and doing for ourselves, just a little bit. Because we're not like here in like Western societies and things like that. Sure, I'm sure it's like larger than it was before. But on a global scale, I'm not completely sure on the advancement of women and how, our empowerment and things like that. I don't know how progressive it's been in the rest of the world. And so all of that again to say, like, we have a smidge more empowerment, a smidge more independence, a smidge more agency and sovereignty than before. And the system, society, has to correct itself and put women in our place. And so it's so interesting to see now with girl bossing was the trend a few years ago, and now the male loneliness epidemic is a problem. I mean, honestly, I don't know what the male loneliness epidemic is. I'm not gonna hold you. I don't really know what that means. And I don't think it's a real problem, because all we're naming is femicide still. Like, if we're talking about the male loneliness epidemic has actual violence and harm in our communities because men are lonely, this is happening, we're still naming femicide, which has been a problem since patriarchy became a societal structure that we build society off of. Yeah, so I don't know how that even works. Like, I don't think that's a real problem, because y'all kill us regardless. If a woman is to be killed, the more the likelihood of that person who killed her being a man in her life, a man with close proximity to her in her life, is, I don't even know how. Like, that's probably in the 80s or 90s of percentages. Honestly, I'll find sources so that I'm not just spewing nonsense. But yeah, femicide rates across the globe have always been extremely problematic. And so it's not like any of this is new. However, like whatever things y'all want to name as to why the men kill us, they kill us because they can. So until we stop allowing men to kill non-men freely, all of these other problems, I mean, they're just symptoms. They're just symptoms to the issue. But yeah, these are things that I be thinking about a lot, especially, again, as a Black woman and as a Black person trying to share my voice, my thoughts, my opinions with the world. And just trying to express whatever it is that I'm going through and all of the things, because it's like I do feel like a lot of the time I'm not interested in sharing because I don't want to engage and participate in the whole being consumed, especially in a public sphere, because it's like we're going to be consumed regardless, right? Like that's again our role in society, is to be this source of whatever you can consume, and you don't have to regard it or anything. It's just always there. But like putting it to the forefront, being open and like sharing all my gifts with the world, it's like, why would I do that? Like, why would I do that? And the only thing that keeps me like, okay, like maybe this is necessary, maybe this is a thing that I should do, is that I circle back to the fact that there are other Black girls and women that exist that need to know that they're not alone and need to see that and need to see themselves or parts of themselves or whatever the case is in another Black girl. Because again, it's only us for ourselves. Only person saving Black women is another Black woman. And so because of all the Black women that have poured into me and existed, and just them being themselves and expressing themselves, like the NicoleMilfies, like the Aaliyahs, like the Left Eyes, like the Zora Neale Hurstons, like the Octavia Butlers, the Whitney Houstons, them existing as they did, and doing what they could, provided space and livelihood for me, because I don't know who I would be without all of those women doing what they did and providing what they did to society. So it's like, dang, if I gotta sit here and do this just so that one little Black girl can see me too and know that they're not alone, like none of this is in vain, because it's not for nobody else but us. If other people see it and consume it and whatever, they're gonna do that. Like, I can't control that. There's nothing I can do. But what I can control is whether or not I do it in the first place, whether or not I share it in the first place, whether or not I put it out in the first place, whether or not I express it in the first place. Because even if I never post this video, because to me it's kind of all over the place, I'm gonna have to watch it back and see if this is really what I want to like how I want to market myself. This is how I want to put myself out there. Self-preservation. But at the end of the day, like, I do get to choose whether it happens or not, whether I do it or not. And again, like, I could re-record this whole video, I could write a script, I could do a lot of things, and I have control over those things. And so taking control of the things that I do have control over, and then with having the intention that I do, which is to exist and allow space for others to exist in the way that I exist. That's about it. That's about it. I want everyone to be themselves and have space and safety to be themselves. And so if me sharing myself allows that space and safety for others to be themselves, then we're doing what we need to do. You know what I mean? It's just hard. It's really hard. And yeah, it's just something I think about a lot, especially, again, like on a day like today, remembering NicoleMilfie and all that she ever did for someone like me. We were never mutual. She never knew who I was. It's not like, you know, I was popping on the internet or anything like that. I had my own little following or whatever, but it was a parasocial relationship, you know, very one-sided and imaginary. It wasn't like a relationship. I did not have a relationship with this woman. I was just a fan, a follower, and a consumer of her work. I was another consumer of her work. But the impact that Taylor Crenshaw, NicoleMilfie, had on little old me, and then there's a bunch of little old me's. There's hundreds of little old me's. Every time they post about NicoleMilfie or talk about her, like, it's not that thousands and thousands of people come out in droves, but it is people. And it's been 8 years since she passed, and we still exist. And so it's like, if Nicole did that, like, if Brax did that, if, again, Octavia Butler did that, if Zora Neale Hurston did that, if Aaliyah did that. Aaliyah was killed, I will say, which is why I don't really like throwing her in the same conversation. But, like, if these women were able to do all that they were able to do and impacted me, little old me, to be all that I am, it's like, who am I to then deny the next generation or the next Black woman, the next Black person, the same space to be inspired or to feel like you belong or to feel understood, to feel heard, by whatever means, by any means, period. Yeah. And that's, you know, my goal with this project of mine. Again, just speaking candidly, expressing myself, expressing my thoughts candidly, formatless. I'm trying not to even take notes or anything like that. Just if it comes to me, speaking freely and feeling comfortable enough to share that with folks. It's hard, but I'm gonna do it because it's necessary. And again, as long as I reach somebody, or even if I never reach anybody in this lifetime, because hey, I mean, Zora Neale Hurston, we didn't engage with her work on a public scale until Alice Walker did the work to make sure that we could. And so, yeah, man, the consumption of Black women in our work without the regard of our lives, that's what I'm dealing with, that's what I'm grappling with, and yeah.